In animals, the nutrients and gases, even the waste products, are circulated all over the body, and there is the central region of circulatory system, the unique significant part of the circulatory system, the heart, or you say the pumping organ. So from where the blood is pumped out, and in the case of closed system, first of all, if we explain, it would be easy to understand the other part, what we mean by the word open type of circulatory system, found among invertebrates in particular. Now in the case of closed type of circulatory system, what happens? The blood starts from the heart, runs through the arteries, and the artery will be branching into capillaries, or systematically you can call them arterioles, arterioles, their branches, and which will be entering into the tissue region, the cavities, the intercellular region, intertissue region, and all those. And the nutrients, gases available with the blood will get exchanged. That is, from the blood it will go into the tissue and the cell, intracellular region, and then the waste products available with the cell and tissues will get into blood. But the blood will never go out. Similarly, the intercellular fluid will never get into the blood. Only by diffusion, or at some places you say active transport. The materials, whatever may be the nutrient or gaseous forms, essential for the life of the individual, and also the waste products, may get out of the blood and also will get into the blood by diffusion process without the leakage of blood. So the blood will not leak out from the blood vessel, that always runs inside the blood vessel only. And again, after receiving the contents from the tissue region, the blood will return to the heart through the veins and the blood vessels, which are responsible for bringing back the blood from the tissue or the organ region, called veins, and which will enter the lung first of all to purify in the sense oxygenated, because the oxygen would have been supplied at the cell region, and the waste, the carbon dioxide and those will be in return getting into the blood. As we say, you should not forget, it is merely by diffusion, not by the leakage of blood, not by the flow of blood from the blood vessel to the cell or cell to the blood vessel, only by the system of diffusion or active transport. Even there the different types of diffusion systems, like facilitated diffusion system, that way. Anyway, blood is not directly flowing into the tissues or organs. That's what to be understood here clearly. Similarly, the products from the cell or the tissues will get into the blood by diffusion, only by diffusion or active transport, not directly by the flow of any fluid from the tissue region to the blood. That to be understood. And then again through the vein that will reach the lung for oxygenation, nothing but to compensate the loss of oxygen, and again will be reaching the heart, then from the heart will get into the artery, that way. So at no place the blood is leaked out. Only it will have its exchange by the process like diffusion or active transport, and there is no leakage except in the case of wound, when there may be the possibility for the release of blood outside. Even that too by clotting process will get closed sooner. Even now you can assume it in the case of human being, everyone may know. At no place the blood will come out except at the time of the wound, at the happening of wound. That too will be closed very sooner by clotting process. So that way the blood that starts from the heart goes through the arteries and will have the exchange by diffusion or active transport at a tissue or organ region, and will be returning through the vein and then entering the lung and to the heart, again will get into the circulation. What we mean by the word closed type of circulation. Now among all vertebrates we can find such a type of closed type of circulatory system where the blood present within the blood vessel, not outside anywhere. But in contrary, among invertebrates, particularly you may be knowing arthropods, very good example is a cockroach, crab, and mollusca, the phylum of invertebrate, example snails, even under mollusca except cephalopods, where the closed type of circulatory system is reported. And then among the invertebrates, one more group, Annelida, a good example is earthworm. There also the closed type of circulatory system is reported, is found. Reported in the sense it's true. So in the case of open type of circulatory system, as we give under the examples cockroach and snails of arthropods and mollusk, what happens, there is a simple pumping organ, you can mean it like heart, and then the blood will flow into the body cavity. Simply it's poured into the body cavity. It comes out of a small vessel from the heart and will be simply poured into the body cavity. So the body cavity is a pool of blood, carrying the blood, containing the blood. Even here the blood is called hemolymph. Lymph, you mean it like body fluid, and heme, there the body fluid itself is acting as the blood. Accordingly it is called hemolymph in the case of cockroach in particular, and wherever the open type of circulatory system exists, you can use this word for as the other name of the blood. And here the hemolymph is poured into the body cavity, and the body cavity is the reservoir. So the organs, tissues, whichever would be simply floating in the body cavity will be receiving the nutrients, gases from the hemolymph by exchange. But anyway, the blood is in the form of a pool, and it's called sinuses. There you can divide according to the portions within the body cavity as small sinuses. Peri-intestinal sinus, nothing but the area, you say the cavity, blood-filled cavity around the intestinal region, that way. So sinus is nothing but according to the part of the organs available within the body, and which would be covered by the blood, filled with blood, that the body cavity can be simply differentiated as small sinuses. Anyway, there is a large pool, the body cavity filled with hemolymph, and according to the different parts within the body, you can mean it like sinus, that way. And here you need not mean it like blood vessel. There are small pools according to following the name of their organs. That way you can mean after the name of the organs, like peri-intestinal sinus, tissue sinus, that way. Again, after the exchange of the material, that the lymph will be, that is hemolymph will be returning to the heart, getting into the heart, then again the heart will pump, and then that will come out to the sinuses, again through the sinuses, through the heart. Yes, even this way also you can understand the route of the blood, but without being fully covered in the form of vessel. Small pools through which they would run, the blood may run and again will return according to the contraction and relaxation of the body wall. Now here the body wall that is in the case of open type of circulatory system, body wall, its contraction helps for the flow of the blood within the body cavity, from the heart to the body cavity, then from the body cavity to the heart, that way. So simply to understand, sinuses are the small pools within the body cavity, and through which the blood flows into the body cavity and returns from the body cavity to the heart. So that way. So here there is no proper blood vessel to take out the blood from the heart and to return the blood to the heart. Simply it is in the form of a reservoir. The body cavity is in the form of a reservoir. Accordingly it's called hemocoel. Seal, you can mean it like cavity, and that cavity is helping circulation of blood. Accordingly it is called hemocoel. So the body cavity, and also there you can mean it the other way also, it contains the mixed blood. There is no separation of oxygenated blood, deoxygenated blood, that way. So both the oxygenated as well as deoxygenated components available with the blood. Simply this heart may be helping for pumping the blood to an extent to give a pressure for the circulation within body cavity. So as the blood is not circulated within a confined tubular structure, it is called open type of circulatory system, and a well-known example is cockroach. And in the case of closed type of circulatory system, you see a proper heart, even you can assume it the case of fishes, you say amphibians, coyotes, the reptiles, birds, mammals including human being, proper heart is there. Whether it is 2-chambered, 3-chambered or 4-chambered, there is a proper heart for pumping of blood, and which will be going through the confined tube called artery that comes the first reservoir, and then will be getting into the capillary, even you can call it as arterioles, the branches of arteries which will get into the organs, tissues and all. As we told already, not going to pour the blood simply by diffusion or some transport process, exchange process, that the components will be exchanged without releasing out the blood. And again the used blood, mainly the deoxygenated blood, and also carrying waste products, because the nutrients would have been supplied to the tissues and organs, and in turn there will come out the waste products which will return to the vein through the capillaries. Here you can mean them as venules, arterioles, venules, and then to the respiratory organ, where to compensate the oxygen lost at the organ region, tissue region, you say oxygenation of blood and returning to the heart. So the whole circulation will happen within the closed, confined blood vessels. Accordingly it is called a closed type of circulatory system. And one thing to be remembered here, among the invertebrates, annelids in particular, you may be knowing earthworm is a good example for having closed type of circulatory system, where the circulation of blood happens within the confined blood vessel from the heart and all over going to all over the part through the arterioles and again returning through the blood vessel to the heart without leakage at any place. So among the invertebrates, these annelids, example earthworm, and cephalopods of mollusca, you can call octopus as a good example of cephalopods. So these among the invertebrates show closed type of circulatory system.